What's up, Taiwan? I'm Joyce with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has met with top U.S. officials after his pivotal talks with U.S. President Donald Trump. It comes as Trump now targets the International Criminal Court after the fallout from his proposal to take control of Gaza. Rosie Greninger reports.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is pushing forward with his tour of the United States, looking to secure a closer relationship with the new administration. Just days after US President Donald Trump shattered decades of policy on the Middle East, proposing the US take over Gaza, Netanyahu met with defense leaders at the Pentagon before talks with Republican lawmakers at Capitol Hill, where he addressed Trump's suggestion.
Mr. Netanyahu, do you think measures are needed in Gaza to make President feasible?
No.
Netanyahu seconding Trump's comments on his Truth social media, where he said no soldiers by the US would be needed. Under Trump's proposal, announced in a joint conference with Netanyahu, millions of displaced Palestinians in Gaza will be resettled in neighbouring countries, while the US redevelops the Strip.
We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings.
That's despite Gaza's neighbours Egypt and Jordan opposed to forcibly resettling displaced Palestinians. Trump's plan drew international criticism, sparking protests in the US, with rights groups condemning the proposal as ethnic cleansing. Meanwhile, many world leaders have rejected it, sticking to the US's previous stance of seeking a two-state solution.
Palestinian civilians should be able to return to and rebuild their homes and their lives. That is a right guaranteed under international law.
As the legality of Trump's proposal is questioned, Trump has targeted the International Criminal Court with an executive order, implementing financial sanctions and visa restrictions on ICC officials and their families for probes targeting the US and its allies, including Israel. It comes as protesters pushed for Netanyahu's arrest while in the US, as he's wanted by the International Criminal Court for war crimes in Gaza. But the ICC has little power in the US, which doesn't recognise the court.
The United States has no duties to arrest or surrender Netanyahu. So there, the kind of political needs of the United States match rather nicely with the legal position.
The warrant for Netanyahu's arrest does, however, prevent him from visiting other countries, with many world leaders vowing to follow through on the ICC's order if the Israeli leader visits, pushing Netanyahu even closer to the US and his, quote, best friend President Trump, as the future of Gaza and the Middle East hangs in the balance. Ryan Wu and Rosie Greninger for TaiwanPlus.
Dozens of U.S. House Republicans are pushing President Donald Trump to formally recognize Taiwan. Pharrell Hughes tells us more.
A proposal to officially recognize Taiwan is gaining traction in the U.S. House of Representatives. At least 24 Republicans have endorsed the resolution put forth by Representatives Tom Tiffany and Scott Perry for U.S. President Donald Trump to officially abandon the current U.S. policy toward China and Taiwan. That policy, called the One China policy, has been in place since the 1970s, and it sees the U.S. maintain unofficial relations with Taiwan while also acknowledging but not backing Beijing's claims over the island. Taiwan has had consistent support from Congress over the years, but this year there's renewed hope for a breakthrough.
国会挺台湾的这个力道，我们必须要维持住。可是，我想我们可能必须要设法强化跟这个行政团队的关系。
Now, this is not the first time this resolution has been presented to the House. It has been put forth by the 2 Republican representatives every year since 2020. But they are hoping that under a new administration and growing threats of a trade war between the U.S. and China, Taiwan could gain even more support, this time from the president himself. John Su and Pharrell Hughes for TaiwanPlus.
The chair of the American Institute in Taiwan, Washington's de facto embassy in the country, has left her position. AIT Managing Director Ingrid Larson confirms that Laura Rosenberger's term ended on January 21st. The comments came after media reported that AIT had updated its website to mark Rosenberger's tenure as 2023 to 2025. Larson did not say who would take over as chair of the institute. She said the board of directors would appoint a new head based on U.S. State Department recommendations. The reason for Rosenberger's departure was not revealed. India's foreign minister says his government is working with the U.S. to ensure Indian nationals deported from the country are not mistreated.
We are, of course, engaging the U.S. government to ensure that the returning deportees are not mistreated in any manner during the flight. At the same time, the House will appreciate that our focus should be on strong crackdown on the illegal migration industry.
His statement comes after Indian opposition lawmakers protested the treatment of 104 people who arrived in the country on Wednesday. At least one deportee said they were handcuffed for the entire 40-hour flight, the longest route involving military aircraft under U.S. President Donald Trump's immigration policy. The deportations come a week before Trump is scheduled to meet Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Thailand and China have agreed to work together to take stronger action against rampant online fraud, an issue that has hurt the Southeast Asian country's reputation among tourists. The renewed vow comes as Thailand's Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra is on a 4-day visit to China.
A show of confidence in Thai-Chinese relations during Thai Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra's first official visit to Beijing. At a time when Bangkok has been working to regain the confidence of Chinese tourists amid reported kidnappings in the Southeast Asian country. Paetongtarn's meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping comes on the 50th anniversary of diplomatic relations between the two countries. Xi used the occasion to commend Thailand's efforts in fighting online scams, Paetongtarn agreeing to jointly boost policing of the issue, among other collaborations.
โดยที่จะประสานความร่วมมือเชิงยุทธศาสตร์อย่างใกล้ชิดเพื่อสานต่อความสัมพันธ์ที่พิเศษนี้ถึงคนรุ่นต่อๆไปในอนาคตค่ะ
Thailand has been working to quell safety concerns by potential tourists, especially those from China, who make up the largest share of the country's visitors, even with an AI-generated video of Paetongtarn making a speech in Chinese.
亲爱的中国朋友们
It comes after a Chinese actor was allegedly trafficked last month across the Thai border to neighboring Myanmar, a hub for global multi-billion-dollar scam centers. The actor Wang Xing is one of thousands of Chinese nationals reportedly targeted by scams. After Wang's ordeal, local media reported around 10,000 Chinese tourists canceled their trips to Thailand, a threat to the Southeast Asian economy that relies on the sector for almost 20% of its GDP. Hours before Paetongtarn left for Beijing, Thailand cut power to several border areas in Myanmar to thwart operations of online scam factories, many of them thought to be run by Chinese criminal gangs.
เราไม่มีจุดที่คนจะสามารถกล่าวหาได้ว่ามีความเกี่ยวข้องเรามีส่วนเกี่ยวข้องหรือสนับสนุนให้ก่อให้เกิดสิ่งที่ผิดกฎหมาย
Aside from fraud, Xi and Paetongtarn pledged more cooperation on the digital economy, EVs, and infrastructure, including finalizing a delayed high-speed rail project linking Thailand directly to China through Laos. Beijing faces a new trade war with the U.S., with U.S. President Donald Trump at the helm. Though Thailand is a longtime U.S. ally, it maintains strong ties with top trading partner China, relations that Beijing could rely more heavily on.
Thailand had became the big hub of industry of China, especially car and some small technology. Thailand will become more strategic partner for China not only in the economic term, but in security term, I think China will look at Thailand closely.
Amid rising tensions between the world's two superpowers, the Thai government's challenge will be to maintain its long-standing neutral position as a friend to both Washington and Beijing, building its prosperity at home and throughout the region. Dolphin Chen and Joyce Tseng for TaiwanPlus.
A deadly blaze at a factory on Thursday has set off fresh discussion about Taiwan's poor industrial fire safety record. As John Van Trieste reports, fire safety experts, workplace safety advocates, and first responders are all unsure whether existing laws go far enough to tackle the problem.
When firefighters arrived at the Far Eastern chemical fiber plant in Hsinchu early Thursday, they faced a familiar scene: a blazing factory building and a sky choked with smoke. And then something else familiar happened: a deadly explosion. Killing 2 and injuring 19, but it's far from the worst industrial disaster to hit Taiwan in recent years. A 2023 explosion at a Pingdong County plant killed 10 and injured over 100. But despite changes to the law in response, deadly industrial fires haven't stopped. From a 2023 food processing plant fire that killed 9 to a warehouse fire in December that also took 9 lives. The Factory Management Act was amended last May. As it stands, the law sets forward a range of possible fines, including a maximum of over $150,000 for failing to accurately report hazardous materials on site. But some observers say making sure factories are fire safe to begin with could be just as important as handing out punishments after the fact.
其实我一直觉得这个新法要把跟它火灾不发生是两回事。这个新法是怕消防人员去救灾的时候，因为它发生爆炸，所以要搞清楚危险物品的种类有哪些，存量多少，火灾会一直重复发生，那业者要负最大责任。他可能在预防做得不好，他可能在应变也做得不好。
Meanwhile, some health and safety advocates doubt the threat of punishments outweighs factory owners' self-interest.
像今天的这个远东化纤的这个大火，其实大家比较质疑是说，是不是因为工厂的管线或者相关的这些设施设备太老旧了？很多的工厂在劳安设施的时候，可能不愿意投资太多，不愿意及时的汰换管线，对工厂来说，往往是一个不会立即有回收、有利润的一个成本。
And then there are firefighters themselves. This time, none of the dead were first responders, but that's not always the case. Some want the system changed, as they say the current fine regime just doesn't work.
甚至是今天它这个工厂，其实它已经历年来已经发生过许多的灾害，然后甚至是那个劳动部也已经进行劳检，甚至罚了这10年将近快1000万的金额，那它还是没有做任何改善。所以今天重点会是说，今天这个企业的责任。 我们认为这个企业的责任必须要再提高一些，在这个台湾的社会里面。
But there aren't any signs of change at the government level yet, and this may not be the last fatal fire to hit Taiwan's factories. Howard Zhang and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
The former interpreter for Los Angeles Dodgers star Shohei Ohtani has been sentenced to prison for theft.
This afternoon, a federal judge sentenced Mr. Mizuhara to 57 months in federal prison for stealing more than $17 million from Shohei Ohtani that Mr. Mizuhara used to pay gambling debts.
Mizuhara Ippei confessed to stealing money for more than 2 years from an account he helped Ohtani open in 2018. He's also being charged with falsifying tax records to cover his tracks. Mizuhara worked as Ohtani's interpreter since 2018, and the Los Angeles Dodgers dismissed him last year for illegal gambling. Thanks for joining us for What's Up Taiwan. Check out the TaiwanPlus website and social media for more of our stories. Finally, today we leave you with images of Cape vultures swooping into their new home at the Los Angeles Zoo. I'm Joyce. Take care and see you next time.